here he is.
The Springfield Board of Mayor and Aldermen September meeting is called to order. Please stand and we'll have the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I want to start tonight by welcoming the Boy Scout Troop 454 from Cedar Hill. Welcome, gentlemen. Thank you for coming. Would also like to introduce the Assistant Fire Chief, Mr. Jeff Golaski. Did I do it right? Glodowski. Stand up, please. Congratulations on your promotion. I promise in the next couple of years I will learn to pronounce your name correctly. Getting started, gentlemen. 1.2. Approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen held on August 21st, 2018. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any corrections? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? 1.3, our public hearing. We will open our public hearing. If you would like to speak to the matter, please come to the podium, state your name and your address. You have 2 minutes to speak to the matter. Ordinance 18-21, an ordinance rezoning one lot, a total of 1.7 acres, located at 2624 South Main Street in the 9th Civil District from R40, Residential 40, to MRO, Multiple Residential and Office. Is there anyone that would like to speak? Public hearing is closed. 2.1, discuss and possible take action on ordinance 18-17 on a third and final reading. An ordinance implementing the local rate adjustment for the Springfield Electric Department. Do I hear a motion?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Harris.
Yes.
Schneider.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Trotter.
Aye.
Sneed.
Aye.
Gregg.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Pass 7-0.
Thank you. 2.2, discuss and possible take action on ordinance 18-18 on a third and final reading. An ordinance amending the fiscal year 2019 annual budget for the city of Springfield by amending certain general funds and utility operating fund budgets. Do I hear a motion?
So moved. Second.
Okay, and we would like to make an amendment to that.
Yes,
Ms. Holt.
this is the third reading, and this has another amendment, and it's highlighted. If you go to amended Exhibit A, the highlighted portion is where the changes are. So you're looking really at two: a collection area renovation at $9,500, and the storage shed for the water wastewater department, $35,000. So we need to amend it before you pass it on third reading.
The motion to amend.
Okay,
Second.
thank you. Any questions? No questions? Call the row on the amendment.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Sneed. Harris.
Yes.
Trotter.
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Gregg.
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
Gotta go back to the main motion. Okay, the main motion's on the floor as amended. Any questions? Call the row, please.
Schneider.
Aye.
Harris.
Yes.
Gregg.
Aye.
Sneed. Trotter.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
2.3, discuss and possible take action on ordinance 18-19 on a third and final reading. An ordinance rescinding ordinance 11-03 and replacing it with the new rules and regulations for the stormwater management. Do I hear a motion?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Call the row, please.
Head.
Yes.
Harris.
Yes.
Trotter.
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye.
Gregg.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Sneed.
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
Thank you. 2.4, Discuss and possible take action on ordinance 18-20 on a third and final reading. A ordinance rezoning one lot, a total of 1.9 acres, located at 2957 Old Highway 431 in the 9th Civil District, and the right-of-way at William Batson Parkway to MRO Multiple Residential and Office.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Third and final reading. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Trotter,
Aye.
Hubbard,
Aye.
Head,
Yes.
Schneider,
Aye.
Sneed,
Aye.
Gregg,
Aye.
Harris,
Yes.
pass 7-0.
Thank you. 2.5, discuss and possible take action on ordinance 18-21 on a second reading. A ordinance rezoning one lot, a total of 1.7 acres, located at 2624 South Main Street in the 9th Civil District from R40 Residential 40 to MRO Multiple Residential and Office. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Sneed,
Aye.
Harris,
Yes.
Hubbard,
Aye.
Gregg,
Aye.
Head,
Yes.
Schneider,
Aye.
Trotter,
Aye.
pass 7-0.
Thank you. 2.6, discuss and possible take action on ordinance 18-22 on a first reading. A ordinance amending the City of Springfield zoning ordinance by the addition of section 11-513 entitled Historic Zoning Districts to Chapter 5 entitled Residential District Regulations. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Will you please read this?
Ordinance 18-22, an ordinance amending the City of Springfield zoning ordinance by the addition of section 11-513 entitled Historic Zoning District to Chapter 5 entitled Residential District Regulations to read as set forth in Exhibit A attached, and amending Appendix A to read as set forth in Exhibit B attached. Whereas TCA Sections 13-7-201 through 13-7-210 delegate the responsibility to local governmental units to adopt regulations designated to promote the public health, safety, and general welfare of its citizenry, and whereas the City of Springfield Planning Commission has reviewed this proposed ordinance amendment on July 5th, 2018, and recommends its passage. Now therefore be it ordained by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of Springfield, Tennessee as follows. Section 1, the City of Springfield zoning ordinance is hereby amended by the addition of section 11-513 entitled Historic Zoning District to Chapter 5 entitled Residential District Regulations for the City of Springfield to read as set forth in Exhibit A attached, and is further amended by modifying Appendix A to read as set forth by Exhibit B attached. Section 2, all ordinances, resolutions, and policies in conflict herewith are hereby rescinded to the extent of the conflict only.
Thank you, Ms. Brickles. Questions, gentlemen?
Put it on the floor.
Yes.
So moved.
It's on the floor.
It's on.
We did that
Sorry.
first.
Okay.
Questions? Concerns? No questions? Call the roll, please.
Harris,
Yes.
Schneider,
Aye.
Hubbard,
Aye.
Trotter,
Aye.
Sneed,
Aye.
Gregg, Head,
Yes.
pass 7-0.
2.7, discuss and possible take action on ordinance 18-23 on a first reading. A ordinance amending the City of Springfield zoning ordinance section 11-308A entitled Limited Manufacturing Activities. Do I hear a motion?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Will you please read this, Ms. Brickles?
Ordinance 18-23, an ordinance amending the City of Springfield zoning ordinance, section 11-308A, entitled Limited Manufacturing Activities, to read as set forth in Exhibit A attached. Whereas TCA sections 13-7-201 through 13-7-210 delegate the responsibility to local governmental units to adopt regulations designed to promote the public health, safety, and general welfare of its citizenry, and whereas the City of Springfield Planning Commission has reviewed this proposed ordinance amendment on September 6, 2018, and recommends its passage. Now therefore be it ordained by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of Springfield, Tennessee as follows. The City of Springfield zoning ordinance, Chapter 3, entitled Use Clarification, is hereby amended by rescinding Section 11-308A entitled Limited Manufacturing Activities in its entirety and substituting a new Section 11-308A entitled Limited Manufacturing Activities to read as set forth in Exhibit A attached. All ordinances, resolutions, and policies in conflict herewith shall be rescinded to the extent of the conflict only.
Thank you. Questions, discussion?
I support it wholeheartedly, really to make sure we keep the public health, safety, and general welfare in control.
Okay. Anyone else? No one else? Call the roll, please.
Schneider.
Aye.
Harris.
Yes.
Gregg.
Aye.
Sneed.
Aye.
Trotter.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
2.8, discuss and possible take action on ordinance 18-24 on a first reading. A ordinance rezoning one lot, a total of 2 acres located at 220 Elder Drive in the 9th Civil District from RI Residential Industrial to R7 High Density Residential District. Do I hear a motion to discuss?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Ms. Brickles, will you please read this?
Ordinance 18-24, an ordinance rezoning one lot, a total of 2.0 acres, tax map 92, parcel 147, located at 220 Elder Drive in the 9th Civil District from RI Residential Industrial to R1 Restrictive Industrial to R7 High Density Residential District. Whereas Venture 24 LLC has requested 2.0 acres, a total of one lot owned by Venture 24 LLC, located at 220 Elder Drive to be rezoned from RI Restrictive Industrial to R7 High Density Residential District. Whereas the City Planning Commission has reviewed the request and voted with a favorable recommendation for this property to be rezoned. Now therefore be it ordained by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of Springfield, Tennessee as follows. One lot totaling 2.0 acres owned by Venture 24 LLC at 220 Elder Drive, tax map 92, parcel 147 of the tax maps of Robertson County, Tennessee, are being more fully described by Exhibit A attached, are hereby rezoned from RI Residential Industrial to R7 High Density Residential District. This zoning ordinance shall become effective following its third and final passage as required by law.
Thank you. We're going to give you a break. Discussion, gentlemen? No discussion? I'll ask you to call the roll.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Sneed.
Aye.
Harris.
Yes.
Trotter.
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Gregg.
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
2.9, discuss and possible take action on Resolution 18-24 on a third and final reading. A resolution annexing 1.9 acres of property located at 2957 Old Highway 431, the estate of Miss Mary Catherine Eden, and the continuous right-of-way of the William Batson Parkway. Do I hear a motion?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Discussion, questions? Call the roll, please.
Head.
Yes.
Harris.
Yes.
Trotter.
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye.
Gregg.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Sneed.
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
2.10, discuss and possible take action on Resolution 18-30 on a first reading. A resolution annexing 5.02 acres of property owned by the City of Springfield located west of Highway 431 and north of Carrs Creek, being part of Parcel 2, Tax Map 102. Do I hear a motion?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Discussion? No questions? Call the roll, please.
Trotter.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Schneider.
Aye.
Sneed.
Aye.
Gregg.
Aye.
Harris.
Yes.
Pass 7-0.
2.11, discuss and possible take action on Resolution 18-31, a resolution declaring the intent of the City of Springfield to reimburse itself for certain expenditures related to public improvement projects with the proceeds of bonds or other debt obligations to be issued by the City of Springfield, Tennessee in approximate amount of $10,050,000. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Questions? Call the roll, please.
Sneed.
Aye.
Harris.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Gregg. Head.
Yes.
Schneider.
Aye.
Trotter.
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
2.12, discuss and possible take action on Resolution 18-32, a resolution authorizing and providing for the finance of the construction of a wastewater facility project, including authorizing the execution of applications, contractual agreements, and other necessary documents, and make certain representation, certificates, and pledge of certain revenues in connection with such financing. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion? Call the roll, please.
Harris.
Yes.
Schneider.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Trotter.
Aye.
Sneed.
Aye.
Gregg. Head.
Yes.
Pass 7-0.
3.1, discuss and possible take action on the adjustment of the retail electric rates of the Springfield Electric Department due to a wholesale fuel cost adjustment by TVA. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Gardner. Good news, bad news?
Good news, we got a decrease of 1.72%.
Okay,
Amen.
let's vote quick before TVA changes. Call the roll, please.
Schneider.
Aye.
Harris.
Yes.
Gregg. Sneed.
Aye.
Trotter.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
Thank you. 3.2, discuss and possible take action on the adjustment of the monthly gas rates for the Springfield Gas Department. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Riddle.
Purchase gas adjustment's down 4.02%.
Good deal.
We'll take it.
All right, ready to vote? Call the roll, please.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Sneed. Harris.
Yes.
Trotter.
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Gregg. Pass 7-0.
3.3, discuss and possible take action on the electric base rate adjustments by TVA. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Gardner. Must not be good news. He's coming to the podium.
This is a 1.5% base rate increase that TVA is implementing. TVA's been doing this just about every other year for the last 10 years, and they're using this revenue to pay down their debt and trying to get a handle on their debt, which they have been trying for years. They're not using any revenue to build any new generation because they've got plenty of capacity in their system. And we have been told this will probably be the last 1.5% increase we see for some time. So that's what we've been told. We're hoping they keep their word.
Any questions while he's at the podium? Don't beat him up because he's just a pass-through person.
Can't fight TVA.
Can't find TVA. No, sir. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Head.
Yes.
Harris.
Yes.
Trotter.
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye.
Gregg. Hubbard.
Aye.
Sneed. Pass 7-0.
Thank you. 3.4, discuss and possible take action on a donation from the Springfield Rotary Club for a wall ball court. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, discussion. I don't know how we could turn that down. Any questions?
I love accepting gifts from the private sector.
Awesome.
Bring it on. Vice
Mr.
Chair.
Harris?
I had asked Mr. Martin concerning this, if that court could be made double-sided with another pad. And I think you explained with the way it's got to go that it cannot on the other side, but there is possibly, I'll let Terry explain it, but there's possibly another area that another court could go if needed.
Okay.
We have a 4-inch drain line running down through runway in between field 2 and 3. And at the end of that runway, it would be hard to double that up, but I think we could put one, if they choose, we could put one in that area, and then we could also put one at the end of the runway next to the batting cages between field 3 and 4. And that way, with the Rotary's logo on it, it's facing the ball fields, everybody can see it, and they can also keep an eye on their kids instead of having two on each side of the wall. The kids on the back side of the wall, you wouldn't be able to see them as good while they were playing. So it'll keep them in there.
And I think the Rotary should be commended for
Yeah,
Absolutely.
wanting to place something like this in our park.
Yep.
Mr. Sneed?
Has sunlight, direction of the wall with the sunlight, has that been considered in placement?
For what purpose? Oh, for the players?
sunlight, is it going to be looking toward the north where the sun's not ever going to be in their eyes, or we're going to look at the south where it's,
In the evening time.
I don't
since-
know the placement of what you're going to do out there.
Yeah, in the evening time, whenever, now if you're out there during Saturday and Sunday time, during daytime, then there's a chance that, the sun's gonna be in your eyes. But in the evening time, when all the kids are out there during ball season, they'll be good.
Well, I know you said you're going to put it between the courts. That made me think it's going to be facing east.
Yeah, between the ball fields. Mhm. It'll be facing south, actually, on one field, and it'll be facing east on another runway. Depends on which runway you're on.
Other questions while he's at the podium? Thank you. And I just want to say to Rotary, I know there's several of you in Rotary Club, thank you so much. Please go back and tell all the other members how much we appreciate this. Any other questions?
I just want to compliment Mr. Martin for MLK Park. I mean, it's coming along real beautiful, okay? And his hard-working crew.
Call the roll, please.
Trotter.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Schneider.
Aye.
Sneed.
Aye.
Gregg. Harris.
Yes.
Pass 7-0.
Thank you. 3.5, discuss and possible take action on the parking on Walnut Street. Do I hear a motion to discuss?
So moved.
Second.
Okay? I'm
Ma'am.
sure there will be questions.
This is,
Mr. Steve?
this is from the deferral of what was on the floor last time, right?
Yes. Other questions? Comments? Would you like to speak, Ms. Holt?
Well, you should have a recommendation from the traffic committee. I didn't put it on my, anyway, I sent it yesterday. And if you wanted to look at other options, since the meeting last month, some of you have been contacted by citizens wanting to make it no parking on either side for several blocks. So the recommendation, the traffic committee looked at it, and they have recommended no parking of vehicles on either side of North Walnut from 2nd to 3rd, and no parking of vehicles on the east side of North Walnut from 3rd to 4th, because there are utilities on the east side. And apparently, 3rd to 4th is a little bit wider than 2nd to 3rd, and so that was one of the reasons why they went along with the no parking on either side from 2nd to 3rd. But of course, it's, if you wanted to change, the way it was left over from last month is the amendment was to do no parking on either side from 2nd to 3rd. If you wanted to just leave that, then you would go ahead and approve the main motion tonight. If you wanted to change that to address 3rd to 4th, then we would need to have that on next month's agenda along with a public hearing.
Okay?
Now,
Yes.
The pleasure of the Alderman.
I think that if you, I understand the traffic committee's concern, they're addressing people who may have contacted them. All I see that doing is people on one side of the road is going to be blocking the driveways. It's going to be so much parking on the other side that people will come out their driveway and their cars will be closer to their driveways, and it's going to make a dangerous situation trying to pull out unless, because people use tinted windows, you can't see through the windows because they illegally tint their windows, you can't see through, backing out parking spots. There's a lot of issues with that, but and getting out of your driveways. So I think it'd put too much parking on one side of the road.
Okay.
It'd just be too congested.
Other questions? Concerns?
Are you talking about the present proposal, you think it's
No,
still going to be too
present-
much, or the
present
first proposal?
proposal is what I made an amendment to do last month, and it was deferred. I'm ready to go with what's on the floor, but discussing the other matter, that would be, again, another matter. That's not what's on the floor tonight, but since it was raised, not pertaining to what we're voting on.
But your amendment last month was to make both sides between Second and Third no parking.
That's correct.
And that's what we would vote on.
That's what passed.
Well, in regards to that, I'd like to ask another question as far as what was brought up last month about what are we doing about the abandoned cars that was brought up? Is there codes for that, Mr. Brewer, or?
That has been addressed, and I think the police department, or one or the other, anyway, addressed and contacted some of those if Chief Ed wanted to address
I
that.
understood you towed 4 cars off, is that?
Yes, we had 4 cars removed. One of them was towed with a trailer, and the other cars were moved. And that was not just on Oak Street. Let me clarify, that was all back on Connell Street, and then I guess in the historic district area, and even on Second, there were some vehicles that had been left for a while. As far as if you're speaking on property, are you talking about on the property or in the street?
Property also.
Property would be a
I think
code.
you said that's a
Yeah,
codes.
property would be a codes issue unless there was a criminal incident involved that we would take over at that point on the vehicle. But typically, when vehicles are abandoned on property like that, if it's not a criminal incident, then we don't handle it. That would be a codes issue.
But in the, may I ask this question?
Yes,
In the- Didn't we pass it about 4 or 5 years ago in the code, if the car's not licensed, even on the private
Yes.
property, that we can still fine them or force them to get rid of it?
Yes, sir. We can designate it as rubbish and have them remove it or bring the car up to speed. Now, there's some common sense in that. But with that said, we investigated. There's one car on all, in all those houses from 4th to 3rd, or 2nd to 3rd, that does not have a license. We do not know if the car starts or not, but it does not have a current license plate. But that's the only one.
Okay. Other questions for Mr. Brewer, or?
So what is the code about a car on property?
The municipal code states, it falls under litter and rubbish.
If it's not tagged, is that
If it's
what it
not
is?
tagged and
Okay.
it's
Or
not,
current license?
if it's not tagged and it can't run, then we can designate it as rubbish and ask them to remove the car and give them a certain amount of time to do so. And if they don't, then we can have it removed.
As long as it's properly tagged and current, then there's nothing,
If it's tagged and/or runs,
there's nothing can be.
nothing we can do about it.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions for Chief Head? Thank you, gentlemen.
So do we need to?
Other discussion?
Does there need to be another amendment to this to address 3rd to 4th? Or
Yes,
is that-
if you want to address the block from 3rd to 4th, you would need to amend it again.
Okay,
But
I
if you
would-
just want to leave it as is, you just vote on the main motion.
I would add the amendment then that we adopt the
3rd and 4th.
traffic committee's recommendation for 3rd to 4th.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion on the amendment? Everyone understand the amendment they're about to vote on? Call the roll, please.
Harris,
Yes.
Schneider,
Aye.
Hubbard,
Aye.
Trotter,
Aye.
Sneed,
No.
Gregg, Head,
No.
passed 5 to 2.
Back to the main motion as amended. Any more discussion?
The amendment with that is that there would be no parking from 2nd to 3rd on either side.
On either side, and then on 3rd, from 3rd to 4th, no parking on the east side. But now, do we need to
That
make
would be
that
separate,
next,
'cause
that
there
needs to
wouldn't
be
have to be a-
deferred till next month so we can have the public
Might have to be
hearing?
a public hearing just on that part.
Right.
But it's no,
Oh, so
no
we should-
parking 2nd to 3rd either side.
So we shouldn't have put them together.
Mayor.
We should not have put them
Mayor,
together.
you're amending something to this
Yeah,
ordinance. and
Yeah, we shouldn't have done this.
This is not correct.
we've made this murky.
More complicated.
City Attorney?
Rescind it.
The maker of the amendment May move to withdraw with with the agreement of the second on the amendment.
Okay.
I will withdraw the amendment, but also instruct that it be on next month's agenda for 3rd to 4th.
And who was the second?
I would accept it.
And you agree? Okay. Now we're back to the original. Okay. Now it's not so murky. Any discussion before we vote?
Wait just a minute. So if we vote, no, it means it goes to next month,
No.
Mayor.
add an amendment on it?
We just took the amendment off.
We're not gonna put it back on there?
Sir.
There was an amendment made and second, we voted on it. The maker of the amendment can't take it back because after it's voted on, it belongs to the board, not the maker of the amendment.
Then
It
you
has
all can vote,
It
you all
has to be
can vote to
voted
remove it.
to
I'm sorry.
remove.
Okay.
Walk it back.
Okay, so now we have to vote if we want to remove it.
Right, because it was illegally placed.
Thank you, Mr. Sneed. Any discussion before we vote to remove this amendment? Call the roll, please.
Schneider,
Aye.
Harris,
Yes.
Gregg, Sneed,
Aye.
Trotter,
Aye.
Head,
Yes.
Hubbard,
Aye.
pass 7-0.
Thank you. Okay, back to the original motion. Any more discussion?
Which is no parking.
No
Either
parking.
side, 2nd to 3rd.
Okay? Are you good, Ms. Brickle?
That's the original.
We didn't,
We didn't what?
we didn't have a public hearing for the, does that matter?
It's not
That's
part
what,
of it.
we had the public hearing last month for that
Mhm.
block, and what passed last month was to have no parking with 30 days' notice. So, city attorney, where does that leave?
30 days.
So the public hearing, excuse me, the public hearing was for no parking only on one side of the street. The motion was amended last month to add no parking on the other side of the street, and excuse me, I don't recall the directions. Has notice been given to the side of the street where there was no public hearing held last month? Have those property owners been given notice?
No.
When we sent the notice out, we sent it to everybody in the block, but it was for parking on one side or the other.
So we've got to have a public hearing. We can't do this.
Correct.
Okay?
Defer.
And the reason being that there should be a public hearing is that it's the adjacent property owners to the street. Irregardless, I remember there was some discussion last month that maybe there were no driveways or vacant lots or whatever, but it has to do with the fact that there are adjacent property owners and they should be noticed.
I thought
Okay,
that
so-
was what we had it deferred for the last month.
So the public hearing should have been tonight.
That was to give them notice.
Okay. Well, we have not done that, so we've got to back up.
Okay, move for deferral.
Second.
Yes, Ms. Martin?
I'm sorry, I don't believe that we need to defer. You all need to vote whether or not to have it, then you would have vote to have a public hearing next month to address those on that same side of the same side of the street. Because it's my understanding that that has been the procedure with the traffic committee.
We're gonna give them notice that we just voted to make no parking over there. Well, if
That
we
you all want
defer,
to.
Then it would be a notice that we plan on doing it. It's quite a different message in the notice.
We need to have a public hearing that put those property owners on notice that there should be no parking on that side of the street.
And the reason we didn't have the public hearing is because it was deferred.
Correct.
Mayor, I made a motion to defer.
Okay. Motion on the floor to defer. Do I hear a second?
Was.
Hubbard already seconded.
He's already seconded, okay. Ms. Barty, your legal opinion?
If we defer it, then there's no reason to have a public hearing. It has to be before the board, for the board to make that decision to have the public hearing at this point.
So are you suggesting that we should make a motion not to defer it and then start all over again? Because I already I
Okay,
second,
there's a motion on the floor to defer.
and I second. So should we go through the procedures of removing that particular motion?
Correct, because you all have not voted on the motion to defer.
We didn't vote on the, we didn't vote on the motion to,
Somebody get Robert's Rules of Order out.
oh, I know it.
We deferred it, and she recommended that we don't defer it, so now we've got to make another motion to get that.
But he's got the motion to defer on the floor.
We need to vote.
We're in the exact same
Yes.
situation we were
with the
last month, and we deferred, so that
So now
people
we
could
need
be
to vote to
notified,
def-
but
whether to
people were
defer or not.
notified. So we need to defer it again, so they get notified.
Attorney said no, take it off. You said do it, so
I want the notification to be that we plan on making no parking over there on that side of the road, not that we have.
point of order. What can we do other than deferring it? What would you recommend? Just walk us through what we need to do.
I would recommend that there be a vote to have a public hearing to notify the adjacent landowners that the board wishes to declare that a no parking area, just like we did with the other side of the street last month.
Okay, so your recommendation is to vote to have a hearing next month,
Yes.
okay?
And the
Thank
hearing
you.
would be on both blocks?
If you all are going to consider, because what we've done is we've come back and we started last month with one side of the street. Then we added the second side of the street. Now we've added an entire another block of no parking.
Not in that motion.
No, we didn't.
Not in that,
was consent.
but that's been discussed tonight.
And that was illegally discussed. It shouldn't have been discussed while that other motion on the floor, because it's a different matter.
Hold on.
And again, so that's where we are. So there is some confusion. So this is what I would suggest in order to follow the recommendation of the traffic committee and so forth. I would
What
take,
about the recommendation of the representative of that area?
but that was one representative, and was there a representative, I do not recall, from last month for third to fourth?
Okay,
But those property owners were not noticed. So what I might suggest is that there be a public hearing next month that addresses, you all decide what you want to address. We address it in a public hearing from second to third and from third to fourth, and you put them all out at the same time.
okay, so the motion to defer and the second to defer have to agree to remove that?
No,
No.
has to be voted on, belongs to the floor now.
That's right, it does belong to the floor.
Okay, so if you vote to defer, we cannot vote to have the public hearing. Right?
One second.
I am so confused.
I am too. It'd be better to just wipe it all out and start all over.
If we vote to defer,
Said no to the defer, that kill it. And then we'll be
if you want the deferment to not happen, you vote no.
That's right.
exactly.
Okay, everybody understand what they're voting on?
Who made a motion to rescind?
No one.
She's just gonna vote.
You made the motion.
I made a motion, he's second, but who's making a motion and a second to rescind it?
We're not.
We're voting
Voting
on
it
it.
down.
We're voting on
Voting
it.
on it now.
Okay.
We'll call the roll.
That's right.
Everyone understand how,
Carry.
everybody understand?
Oh, I was lost right there, that's fine.
Trust me, I think we all are.
To get clarification on this, now, if we vote no, that means we can put it on the, have a public hearing on it, right?
Yes, sir.
We can continue to discuss.
We're only voting on the deferment.
We're only
Correct.
voting on the deferment. Call the roll, please.
Hubbard,
No.
Sneed,
No,
Harris,
No.
Trotter,
No.
Schneider,
No.
Head,
No.
Gregg,
No.
Fails, 7-0.
Okay.
So the
All right, we're
deferral's
back.
the deferral's still on the floor. You voted no to rescind it. If you wanted to
Voted no.
No, we voted
We
no.
voted no to the deferral, Mr. Sneed.
Okay,
First tier.
we're back to talking about the original. More discussion on that.
And the original that you're referring to is no parking on either side of Second and Third.
Yes.
Well, I'd have to get my tape recorder and go into a room for about 20 minutes, but I think that's where we are.
Okay.
So you want us to recommend no
A public-
parking on both sides, Second and Third, along with a public hearing for the next meeting?
Yes.
want
If
a
you would like
joint
to make that
motion like
amendment.
that? Could we make a joint?
Let's have some representation before we make a mess of this again.
What I would like for a motion to
That's what I
state
want you to tell us.
would be,
Hold on.
in order, I think, to clarify the issue, is there would be a motion to, we would have to vote to remove the amendment that was made last month. So where we originally said on the, I'm going to get it wrong, but the east side between Second and Third? Or the west?
East side was what we were voting on.
On the west side?
East
I had a
side.
50-50 chance.
But the west had not been notified.
Now, everybody's been notified. But
No.
it would
Only-
notify that we were going to say the west side would be no parking. We can't believe in the side that it changes to both sides. So it sort of defeated the purpose.
I think we need to send everybody a notice and start all over.
Yeah.
I agree.
Can we not
I think-
defer this pending notification that there'll be a second public hearing on it next month?
We need to make a
To
motion.
make-
I think at this point, especially with the addition of Third and Fourth, that you all vote it down and start all over. Because you're going to notice, or you're most likely going to notice those property owners on Third and Fourth. So it would be one publication cost, and you start over. So there is no question.
That would bring it back to first reading next month, and then the public hearing would be in November.
Right.
If we voted
Yes.
completely down.
Mayor, as
Sir.
representative of this area,
Yes, sir.
the block that was originally came to this floor was between Second and Third. That's a matter that's separate than what has been interjected into the conversation, which caused a lot of confusion
Sure.
if it just been left alone.
Okay.
So the motion that's on the floor right now is for no parking on both sides between Second and Third, correct?
Yes.
And what is, to clarify, in point of order, for a better term, what does the city attorney see wrong with us voting on that right now? Where are we?
Because the
I don't-
people
I
have
don't-
not been
I don't want the
notified?
I don't want the city attorney to tell me what she thinks our policy or what she suggests we do. What is she saying that we are illegally, or where are we legally in doing this?
Okay.
Legally, as far as, I'm not following you. As far as voting
Well, I
on
just
Second
want-
and
I just
Third?
want legal opinion from you. I don't want policy opinion. What are we doing that's illegal in voting to make it no parking both sides between Second and Third? What is the legality of that you interjected? I don't want to hear your policy or your opinion, what you think it ought to be. What is the legality of it?
The notice on parking was insufficient.
Okay.
It specifically stated one side of the
Then why are
street.
we not deferring the motion as it is until notice is served?
That's what I asked. Why not defer this and pending that these other side be notified?
That's what the
of
motion
it is?
was, and you interjected into it, that there was something wrong with doing that.
Okay.
Again, if we are going to go back and add Third and
We're
the
not,
parking
that's
between.
a
part of
separate
it.
issue. The motion on the floor is parking both sides, second and third.
Okay?
Forget about what the traffic committee said. It's a different matter. Doesn't need to be interjected in this conversation.
Okay, so the motion on the floor is on Walnut Street, on both sides.
Between second and third.
Yes, on both sides of the street.
Move for deferral of the no parking between second and third until the east side is notified.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor to defer. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay? Any discussion?
There'll have to be another public hearing, will there not?
Yes.
So they're going to be notified of what is out there and that there will be another public hearing next month.
For both sides of the street.
Does it have to be a 30-day notification? Is there enough time?
It won't be on the next month, it'll be the month after for
No,
the
it will.
public hearing.
It could be next month. It's not an ordinance, it's only a resolution.
Oh, that's right. Okay?
So are we adding
There's
what
a
the Traffic
first and
Commission
second.
came up with?
No, just on the second, third.
So we're just going to ignore what the Traffic Commission did?
That's up to this board.
In this motion, we are.
Yes. There's a motion to defer. Any discussion?
State the motion, please.
Motion to defer.
Move to defer until the east side is notified and a public hearing is held for both sides.
At the October meeting.
Well, I suggested before.
Okay?
This is what the traffic committee suggested, no parking on both sides
On that block.
between that, on that block.
Okay? Call the roll, please.
Trotter,
Aye.
Hubbard,
Yes.
Head,
Yes.
Schneider,
Aye.
Sneed,
Aye.
Gregg,
Aye.
Harris,
Yes,
pass 7-0.
We're finished with that. 3.6.
Mayor, can we ask that the city manager put it on the agenda next month for 3rd to 4th? And what we need to do there with the traffic commission?
Yes.
Okay.
3.6, discuss and possible take action to rescind the establishment of a 2-year term for the city attorney. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I'd like to make a motion as the maker of the original motion to rescind.
Rescind? Okay. Do I hear a second to rescind? Okay. Motion on the floor to rescind. Any discussion?
Yes, because we were going and interfering with our charter, so I definitely support it.
Okay. Any other discussion? Call the roll, please.
Harris,
Yes.
Schneider,
Aye.
Hubbard,
Aye.
Trotter,
Aye.
Sneed,
No.
I'm sorry,
No.
no. Gregg,
Aye.
Head,
Yes.
pass 6-1.
3.7, discuss and possible take action on a proposal from the professional service of Los Designs in the amount of $39,698 for the preparation of the solicitation bids for the demolition of the Royal Inn.
So move.
Second it.
Okay, discussion? Ms. Holt?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, you all, I think everyone knows that October 1st is the date that we gave them to give us something that, of proof that they are going to demolish the building. The owner has been in contact with us. He has a contract for demolition of the building, but it does not have anything about removing the asbestos. The asbestos has to be removed first. He has to go through state approval for that whole process. The contract that we have a copy of is a very simple one-page document. So we are just prepared. We have been dealing with this long enough, and I'm going to say the stall tactics. And this is, the intent of this on the September agenda is to go ahead so that we will be prepared. And if you approve this with Los Design, we will start the process of going through, getting the documents and everything ready to go out for bid to get someone to do this. So he still has till October 1st, but we're not playing games here. We're going to get this thing down. So this is, we're going forward.
Mr. Gregg?
Some of the questions that I've been asking, I want this place gone as bad as anybody,
Sure, yes.
is why is it costing us $39,698 to make a few phone calls about getting this lined up as far as abatement and things. So if Mr. Brewer would explain that to the taxpayers.
That's a good question, because we hear that question a lot, and we have to follow the state regulations and the federal regulations. Mr. Brewer?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Alderman Gregg. The state law states that in any project that goes over $100,000, we have to have professional services. The estimates that I have seen put just the demolition at $89,000, almost $90,000. It's my feel that it'll take more than $11,000 to get the asbestos out of the building, so that it will put it at the $100,000 mark where we have to have professional services. Please keep in mind that any amount of money that we spend in the process of taking down the Royal Inn, we will invoice the owner. If they do not pay within 30 days, we will lien their property as a tax lien, and we will move forward with condemnation as soon as we possibly can, however many years down the road it is.
Okay. Other questions?
As the alderman of the ward, yes, I definitely want to see it. It's disturbing. And it takes away from the general appearance of the businesses in that area. And it's been a nuisance. Number one, it's been a nuisance, a public nuisance probably for the last, 15 years? So, yes.
We've been talking about it ever since I've been on this board. Mr. Harris?
Where are we legally, as far as what you said that you have received from them in his bid? We don't have to be willing to accept that, or where are we at in that, legal-wise?
It's a good question. Technically, wouldn't say it's a legal document. I mean, it's a one-page document that says that they both signed it and they're going to tear it down. There's no date on it as far as when they're going to tear it down. I do think it's a stall tactic.
But, comment.
Because we had specifically said in our certified letters that they had to provide us with demolition dates and get into some details. And
So to
this
ask the
does
city
not do,
attorney
this
where
is
would
very
we be legal?
generic.
And
Hold on.
if we say we're not going to accept
He's
what
not
they've
finished.
sent.
If it doesn't meet the specific criteria,
That they were given in the certified letter,
They've been sent 2 certified letters.
and all that was explained in the letter.
Yes, it was, including the fact that they would have to pay, if we go forward with this, they will have to pay all expenses that we incur to demolish this property.
So,
Okay. Mr. Hubbard? Oh, I'm sorry. Did you want to?
Let me shoot real quick. If they want to play hardball, I'm sure we can conjure up many charges of violation of the nuisance law over probably a 10-year period. Am I correct, Chief?
We probably have a whole filing cabinet.
So if they want to play hardball, we can bring that up also.
Okay. Other questions?
I was just going to say, it's already been condemned, so we're already on firm ground that it has to be demolished.
Yep.
let there be no misunderstanding. If the owner moves forward with this project, they can do it for substantially less money than the city of Springfield can. They don't have to move through the processes that we're required to by law. They don't have to have bonded contractors. They don't have to have professional services. They do have to get with the state and get the state's approval for their asbestos abatement program. And that letter has to be issued to our building official, Mr. Fields, before he can issue the demolition permit. But we can move forward. We can engage Lowson Associates, and they can still move forward before we get started. We will just bill them for the amount of money that we spend with Lowson Associates, whether it's the whole amount or a partial amount. They're on the hook for whatever we spend, we will invoice them.
If he does it himself, by law, he has to remove that asbestos first before
Yes,
it's
sir.
taken down.
There is no other way around that. He has to
My
take.
understanding of this, you're just setting this in motion if this is what we have to do. This
That's
is not
correct.
necessarily right now that we're going to spend this amount of
Right.
money with Loson's.
Right.
And the reason that we have to go with professional services, the demolition of a building and the preparation of the documents for the asbestos removal are outside the scope of your professional in the room. We do not do those types of services, and therefore, by law, we can't practice outside our areas of expertise, which demolition and asbestos removal are for all of us in this room.
Do you have a personal figure in mind that you think it would take to
We put
remove the asbestos and do it?
I think, you know, the numbers that we will wind up paying are somewhere in the neighborhood by the time we get through with, if we hire Lowe's and do the work, we'll pay pretty close to the $175,000 we have in the budget.
Other questions? Mr. Steen?
Well, if it's gonna take that much money, then 40,000 of that 100,000 leaves 60,000 for the removal. 40,000 is just for an architect, because the original estimates came in over 100. And that was based on guesstimates, because we haven't had a asbestos study, correct?
There has been an asbestos study. We have seen the study. There is what I would classify as a small to medium amount of asbestos in the building. It will easily, by the time you look at disposal costs to a hazardous waste landfill, go over $10,000. You know, I don't know, Mr. Sneed. You could be right. We could hire an architect and it could come in at $20,000.
I'm just troubled with $40,000 for this. I just don't think we need to spend, if we're gonna bill the owners of the roll-in, we don't need to be frivolous with the idea that it's gonna be billed to them. We still need to have some fiduciary responsibility about it.
Yes, sir, and I understand.
And 40,000 for Lawson Associate to just solicit bids, that's a hard pill to swallow.
Well, they're not just soliciting bids. They are actually coming forward with the specifications for the demolition.
We've torn down a lot of buildings. I'm familiar with it. I'm familiar with looking at the specs that they look at and the asbestos. I looked at what the Woodard Hall School did, and I looked at those asbestos figures, and they came in a lot lower than anything we ever got abated. And
Okay.
I'm just troubled with this $40,000 up front.
Okay.
All I can tell you is that I feel the estimate will be over $100,000, and by state law, if it's going to be over $100,000, we're supposed to use professional services.
Any other questions while he's at the podium?
Last comment. We have, for the public, we have given this man, it started, what, about 10 years ago, Gina?
No.
I don't think it's
So-
been that long.
Well,
Not,
7, 8, or something like that.
when it was
But
condemned.
he's been given a lot of chances. Am I right, Mr.
The
Brewer?
process was dated in April of 2015, that he should have been through 18 months after that. So
We
he has
spent
been
a lot of
given
time.
ample time and time again.
So it's not so much of the money concern, it's a fact of getting that thing out of the way. And we could put something in there that will pay back on the tax roll.
Well,
Like
and
something like that, getting that.
you're correct. One of the things that we've talked about for many years, whether I was an alderman or in the mayor's seat, and I know that the staff has spent many, many hours on this subject of the Royal Inn, and I'm sure they're ready all to put it to bed. Mr. Harris, you had a question?
If I'm understanding correctly, if we do not approve this, and that just lessens the tooth that we have come October the 1st as to what we're going to do and what we've told him we're going to do, because by law, we have to have their professional service.
By law, we have to have professional services. I'm not qualified to do that work. I don't believe any of the engineers that are an employee of the city of Springfield are qualified to do that work.
But
Okay.
anything that we do is recoverable, either him paying us or us taking a lien
That is
as a
correct.
city to that piece of property.
Any other discussion before we call the roll?
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
one final statement. If I haven't seen asbestos report, but I'll get with you, David, and look at it next week. I didn't know it was available. But if you think it's going to be about 10,000 in a building that size, then that's very reasonable. That's a big building. 10,000 doesn't sound like a whole lot of asbestos. to rent a track hoe with a thumb, if the owner should do it, or contract someone on his own, and get a supply of roll-offs from 2 or 3 different companies. It shouldn't take more than about, my estimates, I've been looking at the building, we've torn down other properties. It shouldn't take more than about 40, maybe 50,000 at the most to tear that building down to the concrete, which is what this is gonna do, just tear it down to the concrete, not break it out. And so you're looking at maybe 40,000, 50 at the most versus 100 that we're gonna put a bill on that owner for him to pay or forfeit the property. I just can't see 40,000 going to, just for preparation and solicitation of bids.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Other
It is
questions?
our intent that when we go to bid, if we do it, we're taking the slab up, we're taking the asphalt up. When we're through, it's gonna be sown, it's gonna be a green field.
We had a conversation about that. I thought it was just take the building down and leave the slab.
No, that's what the owner wants to do.
Okay. Other questions for Mr. Brewer while he's at the microphone? Thank you, Mr. Brewer. Call the roll, please.
Schneider,
Aye.
Harris,
Yes.
Gregg,
Aye.
Sneed,
No?
Trotter,
Aye.
Head, Hubbard,
Aye.
passed 6-1.
3.8, discuss and possible take action to approve amendment number 8 to task order 3A with Gresham Smith and Partners in the amount of $98,980 for an amended task order in the amount of $1,120,308.55. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Some explanation, please.
Ms.
Well,
Holt?
This is part of the administrative order on consent, and it's for our continuous flow monitoring, and it's just basically extending that, I think.
Okay.
That money's in the budget.
That money is part of all the boatload of money we're spending.
Yes.
Thank you to the federal and state government. Any other questions? Call the roll, please.
Hubbard,
Aye.
Sneed,
Aye.
Harris,
Yes.
Trotter,
Aye.
Schneider,
Aye.
Head,
Yes.
Gregg,
Aye.
passed 7-0.
3.9, discuss and possible take action to approve the easements on Old Greenbrier Pike Sewer Project. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussions? Call the roll, please.
Head,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Trotter,
Aye.
Schneider,
Aye.
Gregg,
Aye.
Hubbard,
Aye.
Sneed,
Aye.
passed 7-0.
Okay, moving on to our consent doc.
Mayor,
Yes.
I move to accept the entire consent doc.
Okay.
Second.
Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Trotter,
Aye.
Hubbard,
Aye.
Head,
Yes.
Schneider,
Aye.
Sneed,
Aye.
Gregg,
Aye.
Harris,
Yes.
passed 7-0.
Okay. Before our city manager's report, I want to make the announcement that Art in the Park is the 29th from 10 to 4 at the Travis Price Park, correct? The Friday night market on the square is October 5th, and that will be the last one. I believe that starts at 6 p.m. Am I correct? Is it 5 or 6? Okay, listen, don't miss the last Friday night on the square, because that has been an amazing event every month. And if you haven't been able to come out and enjoy what's going on our square, please join us on October the 5th. Miss City Manager, Miss Gina Holt.
Okay, it's very short tonight. I'm sure most of you, if you've been through Bill Jones Industrial Drive, you've noticed that Electrolux is doing some work, and there's some major grading. There's a street cut, there's a plate across the street, there's signs. This board is supposed to set the speed limit for roads, and normally for a construction area, to lower the speed for safety reasons, we would not ask you all to lower officially the speed limit. But next month, we will have on the agenda for you to do that, because Mr. Ellis thinks that it could be anywhere up to a year for the work that they're doing. So I'm just making the announcement tonight that the signs have not been posted yet, but we're looking at 20 miles an hour. And they will have a flagman out there at some time, but if you've been through there, you can't help but miss it, so.
That's
just-
the million-dollar question all over Springfield.
Yeah. And that's they're doing grading now at the parking lot across the street, so that's what that's all about. And the only other thing I was going to mention is, and I'm sure you all have heard, the presidential alert that was supposed to go out to cell phones, that was supposed to be on the 20th, has now been deferred to October the 3rd. So if you didn't get the notice about the postponement, apparently they're having different issues with FEMA and hurricane and all the stuff going on in North Carolina, South Carolina. But anyway, that has been postponed.
And before we adjourn, I would like to thank Mr. Bruce Head, our vice mayor, for serving last month while I was on vacation. So thank you very much for filling in. I promise not to do that again. Our meeting is adjourned. Oh, I'm sorry.
Let's send out our prayers to our sister cities in North Carolina.
Oh, and also Mr. Jerome Ellis is in the hospital, and I would ask that you pray for him, please. He served for many years.
Yes, he did.
Just adjourn and keep